Once I fully understood the fractal nature of the universe, everything in my life changed. Not on the outside, but in the way I experienced it. So what exactly is the fractal nature of the universe? Or what exactly is a fractal, really? A fractal is a pattern where the same kind of changes or happenings repeat over and over again inside each other and on many different scales. So you can zoom in or zoom out, and the structure would be repeating itself or mirroring itself. There are many examples of fractals everywhere. Basically, that's kind of the point I'm getting to. We see it in some famous paintings as well as nature. I will insert some images of fractals here. When we say that nature is full of fractals, we're saying that nature uses the same blueprint everywhere. An example of a fractal that we'll talk about is a tree. Tree is a perfect example. Trees are absolutely amazing, yet people ignore them every day, and it's so sad. Trees have this branching out pattern where the branches branch out, and each branch branches out smaller branches in the same way that the original branch branched out. And then the leaves that grow on the trees, they have veins on the leaves, and the veins have a similar branching out structure as the branches. And then we have the tree roots. The roots branch out into the ground, mirroring the branches above it. And so there's a lot of mirroring and patterns and repetition reflecting the fractal nature. Fractal nature is all around us, and it's undeniable. So that we know for sure. So if something in nature is fractal and it's made of smaller fractals, like the tree example, then by definition, it belongs to a larger fractal system. Trees are fractal and they're within the forests, which are fractal, and the planet itself is fractal. We know in the world and in life there are cycles, there are patterns. Fractal nature doesn't mean that everything repeats exactly the same and everything's totally predictable, but rather it's the structures and the tendencies that repeat themselves. And the details of it can be completely different each time. The universe doesn't repeat the same events, it repeats the same structure of events. And in a way, it's the pattern of unpredictability that repeats itself. So with the tree example, this is why there are so many different kinds of trees, and each tree is unique. All trees have the same branching out and mirroring fractal structure, but the details of each tree is unique and different from one another. Fractal nature even extends to time. We know history repeats itself. Day-to-day life can feel repetitive, even though each day is separate from one another and bound to be totally different from the next. We still sense that pattern and that repetition as we live our lives. Each day has the same tendencies as every other day, and each week has the same tendencies as every other week. So we have realized today that the planet is fractal. The planet being fractal necessitates that every part of the planet and every part of those parts must also be fractal, including humans. Humans, we are not an exception. We ourselves are fractal, and we are made up of fractals. So, as humans, we are inside of a fractal, and we are made up of many fractals within us. And so our minds are also fractal. There is a fractal way of thinking, and it is not very common, as a lot of us think in a linear way. So, for example, I look outside and I see that it's a beautiful day, and I think to go for a walk later today. And then I also think to invite a friend over to come along with me since it's so beautiful out. So that is a linear way of thinking. It is more practical, and it's pretty much going from one step to the next. There's some progress involved. Whereas a fractal way of thinking would be, wow, it's so beautiful outside. Why is nature so beautiful, and it's so consistently beautiful? Yet, why does it change sometimes from season to season? What causes these changes? What causes planets to move in the way that they do? So as you can tell, that is a fractal way of thinking. Rather than linear, one step after another, your mind branches out from the initial thought and continues connecting to more thoughts using that branching out pattern. And fractal thinking is natural thinking. When we start thinking in this way, we start to notice patterns instead of problems. We are expanding our awareness and connecting all of the dots. And I will say the fractal way of thinking is not productive or efficient, and progress is not the goal like it is with linear thinking, which is why we don't really think in a fractal way. However, instead, it reveals meaning, and it helps you view your life as part of a larger pattern, which is really cool. Yes, productivity does solve problems, but finding meaning solves the underlying root cause of the problem. So you may want to switch to the fractal way of thinking every now and then, particularly when it comes to situations that you can't control. Intuition is mysterious, and intuition itself is actually fractal. We wonder where intuition comes from, and what it is your brain doing rapid pattern recognition based on everything you've experienced so far, revealing that underlying something through recognizing the fractal repetition. People always say, trust your intuition. They're basically saying, trust the fractal nature of the universe. This quote by John Dewey has always stood out to me, and it's, "The situation would strike us as a curious one were it not so familiar." This quote actually tells us so much. There's blindness by familiarity. This is why people ignore trees. Fractal nature is everywhere, so everywhere that we stop noticing it. And each of us have systems within us and that come out of us. And when a situation occurs, to solve it, we simply need to figure out where it fits into the larger, greater system. That concludes today's video. I hope it inspires you to philosophize and really self-reflect so that you're constantly reminded of your true nature and can always come back to it and connect with it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.